one and all, and listen to tales of excitement and adventure. Tales of daring heroes, savage monsters, and bards who just couldn't keep it in their pants. Tales of friendship, nobility, drunken foolishness, and unforgettable fun. These are tales of role-playing games, fair listeners, and this is Rollin' Bones. My name is Ryan Howard, and I shall be your guide. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rollin' Bones with Ryan Howard, your source for the best in RPG interviews. I am your host and king of the boneheads, Ryan Howard, and tonight we are joined by one returning guest and two new ones. Ladies and gentlemen, you are already familiar with the legendary Savage Worlds GM, Karl Kiesler, and tonight we are joined by his co-hosts. On the Wild Die podcast, we have, of course, Gary McCallum joining us.
Yay!
And Eric Lemeroux. Guys, welcome to Rollin' Bones.
Hey, I didn't realize you were such a svelte-looking dudester.
Well, thank you.
I see why you're streaming, man. You're not fugly like us. That's why you just...
I appreciate it. Sometimes I feel fugly, though. So, in fact, most of the time, every day.
Everybody,
just look at Gary when that happens. You'll feel better.
I'll send you a nudie inspiration poster. You'll be like, I don't look like that. I'm good.
Gotcha. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. Karl, you are already familiar with this rigmarole that we're about to go through here.
Oh, yeah.
But for Gary and Eric, I've got these questions that every first-timer gets asked on Rollin' Bones. So we'll kick this off at the very beginning. How did you guys get into RPGs?
Want to go, Gary?
They know mine answers.
The same story that about 2 million gamers have said. Come on.
It's the same one.
Say it.
My buddy Corey Balfour showed up from Richmond, which is a city that's a couple of miles away, in grade 3. He brought with him the Red Box D&D, Keeping the Borderlands, the basic set, and we started playing it in his basement, and it's been a love affair ever since, man. We used to have the best arguments over the most mundane and ridiculous things, like world-altering topics, like if there was only 1 penny left in the world, would it be worth money? Is it worth a thing? We argued about that forever because and so that was my love affair. And then I did D&D for 41 years this year. I started when I was 8. I'm 49 this year, and about 5, 6, 7 years ago I met Eric, and we exchanged phone numbers and had some sweet sexy time over the phone, and became sweet Wild Die podcast lovers.
Awesome.
Look at his face.
That's exactly what happened. Well, for me, I was almost about 8 years old, and back in the day, the same. Because I'm from Canada, like Gary, but the French part, and so I read those Choose Your Own Adventure books, and the same publisher that published those books in French also published the Dark Eye, the German RPG translated to French, and I went to get one of those books at the library, but ended up getting the Dark Eye instead, and didn't know what it was. My cousin, who's a couple years older than me, had played D&D before, so he knew what that was, and started with that, and then Warhammer, Rollmaster. Didn't touch D&D till much later in my life, really, compared to most people. So I took a different path, and Savage Worlds in 2008. So yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Now, in those first games that you guys actually played in, Do you remember who your first characters were?
That's a tough one.
That's a good question because you know what, honestly, my basic characters. I used to have a book. I probably up until maybe I want to say before I moved into this house, I probably had those character sheets. I had a water leak in my last house. I came home. It sounded like a waterfall going downstairs, and a bunch of my D&D books got ruined, waterlogged because they were in boxes in the basement, and my character sheets were in there. But I bet you I would have had them to this day had that not happened.
Gotcha.
And between that and the character death.
Now, who were your first like memorable characters? Do you have memories of them?
Oh yeah, Orpin playing Warhammer. He was a dark elf, minstrel, assassin type of guy, and he fell in love with a vampire, and he was chasing her around with a vampire hunter, trying to find her. And his buddy was a dwarf, a troll hunter, troll slayer dude, played by my brother, and we played for years, just two players and the GM, and I love that character.
Gotcha.
There would have been more, but Eric doesn't have any friends, so he just played with his brother. He does have a 3D printer now, so he's going to print some.
Yep.
I'm surprised that your first character wasn't a rogue with a short sword, man. What's up with that?
Oh, it was kind of roguish, right? Assassin, minstrel. So yeah, it's kind of roguish.
That's where that love comes from.
Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So considering the subject matter of the podcast that you guys do, I think I have an idea of what the answer to this question is going to be. But of all the game systems that you guys have played in, what would you say is your favorite?
Gary will surprise you. And he's about to get fired for saying it. Go on.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Sapworld. Do you know Hanker Infernale, Brandish Gilhelm? He's Drunken in Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a YouTube channel.
I know him, and he was on the show back when it was just audio. I actually need to bring him on again now that we stream.
He had created ICRPG, index card role playing game, and I don't want to say that it's my favorite, but it is my top tier spots is tied between the two of them. Because in Savage Worlds you can't beat acing dice. Plus the character, the depth of which you can create a character with edges and hindrances, and then acing dice on top of that just makes Savage Worlds by far, probably sort of the ultimate system. Plus it's universal, so you can play it across the board. It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Learn one system, play space, play westerns. And I think it's got some of the best settings ever. Like 50 Fathoms by far, I got to say it, is just, Eric's laughing because it's the best, man. Pirates, like fantasy pirates. You got the Atani, like they're a flying winged race you got the Grail, which are like walrus dudes and stuff. And it's awesome, man.
Absolutely.
But yeah, ICRPG is a very simple system. It's nice, it's light, it's easy. You don't have to memorize any rules. You don't do things like you look up what are the two things that happened. Anyways, doesn't matter. See, I don't even know them because I have to look.
Just because you don't read the rules past page 70. That's why.
Yeah, there's stuff past there in the Savage Worlds book, but yeah, ICRPG and Savage Worlds are my two favorites, and we know what Eric likes because he's just a follower.
Yeah, just simply Savage Worlds for me. It just, I still read a lot of RPGs and I try them, but less and less because it just felt like a quest to find something better for me than Savage Worlds, and I haven't found that system yet. There's still some very good ones out there, but it's much easier, more flexible for me to just run Savage Worlds.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. So, for you guys, who've run a lot of games and stuff like that, I find that a lot of people have favorite NPCs that always manage to find their way into every single game? Do either of you guys have a forever NPC that manages to cross space and time and touch every setting that you run games in?
What do you, Eric? You go first. No?
No, I mean, the recurring ones, not really. I like the kind of Asian barkeep that I ran in the our actual play from a couple years ago for the Lankmar game. That one was a lot of fun to play, and the players liked it. I also like another Lankmar game when there was a rooftop chase, and one of the characters fell through, and it was in the middle of the night and ended up in a guy's bedroom, and the guy was sitting in a chair naked, eating a carrot and petting a goat. And we had this about 5 or 10 minute scene where the player was just didn't know what was going on, and he wanted to leave that room so bad, and that was fun too.
That's how I feel right now. I just want to leave this room at that.
So mean.
I got a couple.
What about you, Gary? You do all the voices and stuff.
Well, I'm telling you, man. I got. Do you remember Saturday Night Live way back in the day? There was the two wild and crazy guys. They're like, yeah, the wild. Yeah. So, anyways, I got a guy that's a leather worker, because they always end up in a magic shop or something like that. But he was like my leather worker guy. He had like a little barbarian loincloth on, and he was always covered in leathering oil. So he was always like tanned and buffed and covered in in greasy oils and stuff. And he'd be like, hey, welcome to my leathering shop. Come on in. And I would do that guy, or like I like the old grannies and stuff like that. Like, come on, it's time to come and play with the little childrens. So I always try and throw those in, and not so much actual NPCs, except for the leather worker guy. Mm-hmm. And whatever else I can throw in there, I like to get in there.
Mm-hmm. So Karl, to loop you in here and keep you from just being a spectator in this first part. Since you've answered these questions, I just have to ask, do you think Gary does a better old lady voice than you do?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's awesome.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I can't do anything like that. You go, Eric, now.
You're such a sweet boy.
We'll all do old lady voices.
Well, I tell you what, I think you both sound great.
Come over here and rub Granny's bunions.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, you win.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys have already alluded to this a little bit, but how would you describe your play styles, both as GMs and then when you get the chance to get on the other side of the screen and actually play?
You guys go. Maybe you should have asked us to describe each other's play style. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Gary, as a player, he's still a GM. He wants to control what everybody does. He'll talk to your character and say, "Hey, why don't you come over here and open that door?" Like he takes control of all the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face it, players are dummies, man. They need to be reined. Got to rein them in. Always got to tell them what to do.
And as a GM, he very animated, is very role play style, and Gary's very prepared. He takes great pride in preparing his games really well, to a fault sometimes, because we like to tease him about railroading the game, but because he always says, "Well, if you don't follow what I prepared, it's gonna suck." He doesn't have a bad time. So he's got his maps prepared and his tokens and all that, and he can't wait to show them. And he's fun. You're never bored in Gary's game.
I don't know if you can see that thing that I put in there, but I like to play on Tabletop Simulator. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's basically just a table in a room. So I prepare 3D maps and stuff like that, and I've got my stuff prepped Like every scene that's going to happen, it's prepped. This is the thing too. I enjoy a good solid railroad for this reason. I've prepared the railroad, man. If you don't want to go out down the tracks, we're going to derail the train, and you're going to end up staring at a white sheet of paper. So, right, get on board the train. We'll have a good time, and
all aboard.
I think that, to be honest, though, in my defense, if you're playing a game online that is not theater of the mind, and you know what I mean, even on Roll20. Online role-playing games are just the kind of things where you sort of have to railroad your players because there's a lot of prep that goes into these things in order to sort of make them go off without a hitch. Unless you're going to do theater of the mind, excuse me, which I consider welfare gaming. That's my personal opinion. That is like, I'm not prepared. Let's just do whatever. And I don't feel like that has any sort of backbone to it. So I'm a little jaded when it comes to that, but let's not talk about me. Let's talk about Eric. Eric as a player, he is
bad.
How to describe this? He's very not rules lawyer-ish, but he knows the rules so well that his players will always mechanically put themselves in a position where he will be able to use something on his character sheet to its fullest advantage. There isn't an actual shot that goes by where Eric doesn't have gang up bonus. He's not taken the aim or some other kind of deal that does something along those lines. So yeah, he's a good role player. Don't get me wrong, but it's more when we role play. I would say you're more of a tactical player. You like that bit of making sure that you use the rules and your edges and hindrances to your best ability. But as far as a GM goes, he prepares a good game. Don't get me wrong. Fantasy Grounds, man, he's got all the maps. We had this awesome game, the one where we had to go. Pedro Must Die, I think is what it was called. It was probably not that because I mess everything up. But and I played a Mexican taco stand guy, and so all of my powers were all burritos and beans and whatnot. But that was fantastic. But here's the funny thing that I love to rib Eric about. We're in for a 3-hour game, and at 2 hours and 59 seconds, doesn't matter where we're at in the adventure, Eric's like, okay, tell me how we win this game. 3 hours and 1 minute into it. Okay, see you later, guys. Click. And it's fantastic. It takes you off guard the first time. You're like, hey, what happened to our adventure, right? But after a while, you grow to appreciate the fact that you're there for 3 hours and then you're out, and it's good. You can make plans playing with Eric. That's what I'm saying.
He's got stuff to do, man.
Right.
Now, Karl, do you generally agree with both sentiments tossed around here?
Well, I've never played with Gary or anything like that. I want to because I want to experience these maps. They sound and look amazing from what I've seen. Mm-hmm. I have run a game for Eric before, and Gary's pretty spot on. He watches and he's very tactical when it comes to combat. He knows the rules like inside out, and he'll help people and stuff like that, but he doesn't take over. So yeah, it's fun playing with Eric. We played over at Genghis Khan. I ran a game for him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, on the cruise too.
Yep, on the cruise. Yep.
Now, Eric, I have only seen what some of Karl's games look like from the prep side and the outside. I've never been in one of his games. From your perspective, what's that like? Because I think they look awesome, but you've played in one, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, I played in 2 of his games, one on the cruise and one at Genghis. Yeah, his preparation is spot on. It's just amazing. People taking pictures, and also his GMing. I mean, we just concluded a series on running one-shots on the Wild Eye, and it was like 10 episodes long. We went through like every little detail that he goes through to put it together, and it's really well thought out. And I mean, you might look at his setup and say, okay, that's all he does, but no, he's actually a pretty good GM too. He knows the rules, and he knows how to make sure everybody has fun around the table. So I think even without all of that, he would still be, top 10 Savage Worlds GMs out there easy. So,
yep. Karl's no one pony, but Eric's no slouch either. To be honest, let's give Eric some credit where credit is due.
Yes, exactly.
We fly down to Con on the Cob in October, November, the last couple of 2 years or something like that. And the last game we went to after Eric came out with his Wise Guy setting for Savage Worlds, we did this fantastic thing where he had this pyramid that he had built, like an actual full-on pyramid, but the top of the pyramid was a like a casino room. It was like, I don't know, whatever the place is in Vegas that it's called, but it was set up like that.
Yeah.
And so there was like all these little palm trees, and we had a little disco dance area and a little couch, and like, it was as good as Karl's stuff. Karl's getting a run for his money with Eric's stuff. Their in-person game prep is the equivalent as to what I do for online stuff, because you should see my in-game stuff, man. I got little papers that I cut out with scissors. Like, mine's a sham, but yeah, these guys are both champs. Eric makes some cool stuff, man. You should show him that. Well, you can see it if you're looking, Ryan, in the back by Eric's head. You can see on the shelf there's a sweet looking 3D printed hot air balloon back there. Yeah. He's the crafts master, man. He's got a 3D printer now, and he's building some kick-ass stuff. Pretty soon, you're going to be singing the praises of Eric Lamoureux, and you'll be like, Karl, who? Yeah. Who that?
That pyramid he made was amazing, man. I use that. We played in that in the Wise Guys game. You used that, and you used it again in a Conan game, right? A Conan.
Yeah, Beasts and Barbarians. Yeah,
that's a great idea. You make one great piece, one terrain piece, and you use it in different games for the same con. It's amazing. It was really cool.
No, Karl, is that he made the pyramid, and then he's like, I got to make another game to use this pyramid because I spent so much time making the pyramid.
Well, that's smart, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's just I was posting pictures online. I was making it for Beasts and Barbarians, and one of the guys that was coming to the con, a friend of ours, he's like, "What is that for, Wise Guys?" And at first I'm like, "What is he stupid?" It's like a Mayan pyramid. Yeah. And now I'm like, "Wait a minute. That could be a casino in Vegas." So that's where I started changing. I bought little keychain slot machines that I used, and I made a bunch of stuff with it, and then made like a dragon, a Chinese dragon out of I don't know, some junk and Spyro toy, and that one everybody loved, and it was one of the cheapest thing I've ever put together, but people liked it. So.
Yes, cool stuff.
Yeah.
So
you know what they do at conventions? Take pictures of your Theater of the Mind game.
Exactly.
Right? He's getting famous for that.
I mean, you're talking to a guy who started Theater of the Mind because, like you said, it is, to use your words, welfare gaming. But once I got introduced to miniatures and terrain, I have not looked back since. Much to the chagrin of my wife, as miniatures just take over my office.
Yeah, space. But you know what? The thing is, some people are really good storytellers, and just with a Theater of the Mind game, they can run a really, really good game. But you take, I don't know if Karl feels the same, but he's a bit more quiet like me, introvert, and we're not like as good with words and stuff like that and making voices and characters. So I think it's like compensating, like we got other talents and we're just going to do that instead. And instead of having to come up with some poetic way of describing a scene, we're just going to make it for you and put it in front of your face, and there it is. I don't have to describe it. Look, that's what it is. That's it.
Totally, yeah. I totally get where Eric's coming from. I'm usually the quiet guy and everything, but when I make something I put on the table, everybody's all into it then, and I can play off of that. So if they say, "Hey, is there a chandelier in this bar that you put out in front of us?" Of course there is. Yes, there is. You know, you one idea goes into another, and then I think the terrain pieces are like a good starting point to help guys like Eric and I.
Mm-hmm.
It's always nice to have something within arm's reach to throw at your crappy players too, right?
Exactly.
That's another bonus.
So, of all, the time that you guys have played RPGs, I know people like us who make content around RPGs, we have a lot of very good memories tied up with our games. If you had to pick a fondest RPG memory, what would it be?
Oh, I know, because this is awesome. It's not going to be awesome, and I'll probably explain it horribly. I like playing priests. That's my deal. I played in this second edition game, first edition D&D with my buddy Jay from Nerd Haven, and I played this priest that was a pacifist. So the entire time that I was, in playing this game, I never did anything to anybody that I didn't absolutely have to. But my whole thing was not to shoot anybody. I even had a carriage that we had custom built so that there was a hidey hole box in the bottom of it. And anytime we got into combat, I would jump into the bottom of the carriage and I would slide the door open and I would cast my healing spells and then slide the door back so that I was completely hidden. But I had Mancatcher, because Mancatchers, they're not really deadly weapons. We went into this old wasteland and we had to fight this ogre guy. I can't remember exactly what it was, but everybody's in there fighting, and I'm the pacifist that I am. I'm hanging outside of the bloody building, and then people are starting to go down, and I can hear the death throes of my party from inside, and I'm I don't want to go in. I don't want to fight. And so, anyways, one of them goes down, and they're all screaming for help. So I finally run into the building. And it's just me. Just as I'm making my way inside, it's just me and the boss man left, because he's taken down the last character. He's got 1 or 2 hit points left. And so he's defeated everybody, and I'm it. And I've got my man catcher, and I run up to him, and he's well past my level and whatnot. But I slam him with my man catcher, and I needed an absolute 20 just to get this guy. And damned if I didn't roll it. So I entangle this guy, and for the next 3 rounds, he's trying to break out of it. But if you've got a man catcher, if you don't succeed on breaking out of it, you take 1 to 2 points of damage. And I killed the boss. Well, the boss killed himself on the man catcher because he couldn't get out with his 2 or 3 hit points that he had left. And then I healed everybody, and I won the fight. My most useless character, but that was freaking fantastic. That thing all ended in this weird. We shot to the future, and which actually, no, we shot to the past, and in the past it was an Earth-like thing, modern day kind of a deal, and we sort of did this dark noir thing kind of a deal, and then we ended up setting off a nuclear blast, and then that's where it ended, in the nuclear blast. But the premise was that we were actually the people that caused the apocalypse, even though we didn't know it, because we came back from the future to start and that was really cool. That was a pretty neat twist. Fabulous campaign.
Take a deep breath, Gary.
It was good. Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Fun stuff. Go ahead, Karl.
Oh, I answered these already in another podcast.
Did you?
Yeah.
For me, wow. Favorite RPG moment. I don't know. I think going on the Savage Cruise earlier this year was pretty awesome. A week of gaming. Got to play in some games, run a bunch of games, and hang out with Shine Wright, and Plant and Jody and Christopher Landauer, Chris Fox, all these guys. It was
wow. Somebody's
fun.
You don't know those people. Yep. You didn't say Gloop. Why wasn't Gloop your favorite?
I hate Gloop. Gloop is one of Gary's character in the last Parsec Iron Gate. He lost a character that was killed, and he liked that character in the Orville, that puddle of snot that talks. Yeah, so
Norm Macdonald.
You wanted to play that. Yeah, you wanted to play that, and I thought it was just the stupidest thing ever. I hated it. It was such a cool, immersive, gritty game that I was enjoying, and I was starting to get into my character a little bit, and then he was just over the top comic relief character that just didn't fit what I was feeling about this campaign, and he just ruined it for me, and I hate him for that.
I rode around a mop bucket of dirty water.
Turned into the Gloop show.
Yeah. So it's a running gag on the show now that we try to bring up Gloop all the time.
Oh, look, as a dedicated fan of both the Orville and Norm Macdonald, I cannot blame you for that. So
That character was awesome. Eric just had to yuck my yum all the time, man.
So I think we might have just heard one of Eric's, but every time we play the game, we play with all these different kinds of people. Some of them we love and they become our best friends. Some of them we just don't click with, and the worst of these, we have this term of that guy for. So if you guys have a that guy story that you're comfortable sharing on the show, I would love to hear it.
He shouted, "Nameless." I was playing in this live, in-person game, and it was sort of a Western deal. That's where my character Weepy Peepy came from. It was my buddy Jay had this. We were chasing this elven Indian woman, and sort of like a first edition offshoot of like a Western. Mm-hmm. So we had to go to what is essentially like, if you're familiar with Deadlands for Savage Worlds, the islands on the coast of California, they're all broken up. And you know what I mean? Yeah. And so there was it's called the maze is what it's called. Mm-hmm. So we went to this sort of so-called maze, and we're with our party members and stuff like that. And we go into this room and we're chasing this guy. And as we get into the room, this guy tries to take one of us out. And so all of a sudden we're attacking him. And I don't know what happened, but this guy that we were playing with all of a sudden was trying to defend this character. He's trying to role play his character or whatever. And so he's he starts attacking us, and so then we ended up killing him, and then he was mad in real life because we killed him, and we're like, dude, that's why we came in here, was to kill this guy. Why did you defend him? And he was like, well, I didn't see any of this stuff. And I'm like, but you're sitting at the table, we're chasing this guy for weeks. Anyways, he's not gonna be named, but let's just say that was the last time we played with that guy. In fact, it was the second time I played with that guy where he ended up going full PvP right at the end. Him and his buddy were sitting there on their cell phones texting each other like little geeks, and they're like, "Oh, wait, let's do this maneuver." Now I'm angry. Can we talk about 50 Fathoms so I can?
50 Fathoms. For me, I remember a guy, and he made me hate D&D 3.5 forever. I stopped playing after that, I think. Or I was glad that 40 came around, because it was very balanced but flavorless. So I just moved down here from Canada, and I was trying to get a group going. So online I found some people, and so these two guys come in, and one of them, you can tell he was the kind of guy that wouldn't really play D&D unless it was just to hang out with his buddies, and he was really about min-maxing. And I just started running 3.5 maybe a year, and there's a lot to digest. And he's like, can I play this half, I think he had a half ogre, half dragon build fighter thing, and he was just min-maxed like crazy, to the point where he was much stronger than the rest of the party. So if I threw something that would challenge the other players, their characters, he would just wipe them out. And then if I threw something at him to challenge him, these creatures would wipe out the rest of the party. That was just how bad it was. And he had fun playing that way, just power gaming the whole thing and having a build to push the I win button. And I didn't invite them back after that, and I didn't play 3.5 again.
I don't know how many times I have to apologize for that.
And last of these introductory questions, this one has caused some people to get a little bit flummoxed or confused. The answer can be as philosophical or as sophomoric as you want it to be. But if you could put anything on a t-shirt, what would it be?
I don't know what either of those words are, but I'd put real boobs on them. I would just have a boob t-shirt that I would just wear, and then I could just play with them the whole time. I'd be working and touching them and That's what I would do. It's got to be useful, right?
Yeah.
Did you mean like a saying or something like that? 'Cause
I said anything.
We weren't expecting anything smart. You're good. So you're good.
I can't limit it to sayings because I've had my friends come on the show and one of them said a functioning koi pond. So
Right. Why wouldn't you get a T-shirt that had like a third arm? Or you could get a T-shirt that had, what's the octopus guy from Spider-Man that
Doc
has like
Ock,
8?
yeah.
Yeah, Doc Ock, man. You get one of those, like, or a T-shirt with a jetpack on the back. You know, all these things that I'm thinking of for you, Eric. Just take one of them. I know what Eric would get. Eric would get a T-shirt that had the guy from Total Recall. The little
2
face
weeks.
guy. No, whatever the little face
Oh,
was.
oh yeah, that guy.
Then you'd have somebody to talk to.
You know, Quado on his shirt.
Yeah, Quano. That's like, hey, little boy.
Awesome.
Except I would be Quado. I think that's what would happen. Everywhere I go, I'd catcall the ladies, and then Eric would get in fight. It's good but bad at the same time.
I think I would put like 2:59:59 on it. Did you get it, Gary?
He's trying to do the math.
2 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds.
That would be awesome.
And then I'm out at the bottom.
Just get Quado. Get a timer on.
He can tell you when the game's almost over. Game's almost over.
Yeah.
If you had a T-shirt with a deep fryer on it, you could just deep fry all the stuff that you eat. Man, this is such a great question. That was an awesome question, buddy. That was good.
I wish I could take credit for that one, but
I think that we should create a setting where you have a T-shirt that does things, and everybody has like their own T-shirt, and that's your superpower. You just put your T-shirt.
yeah.
A T-shirt, arcane background.
Savage shirts.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, Karl, to kind of loop you back into the conversation here a little bit, as you've been kind of a spectator here as
That's cool. I'm enjoying myself.
These guys answer these questions. And this is open for everyone, but we've had so many settings now converted to Suede. Deadlands, they just did the Kickstarter. Interface Zero had a Kickstarter not too terribly long ago. In you guys' opinions, what settings that have not already gotten the Suede treatment should kind of be next for a Suede update? Or what do you hope is next for a Suede update?
Like an official Pinnacle one? Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah. Any of the ones that Pinnacle actually publishes themselves, yeah. Or you could go for something that's published kind of outside of Pinnacle.
I'm thinking. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, ETU for sure. ETU has got to be. I don't want to say, 50 Fathoms is my favorite, but ETU has to be right up there. It is so good. It is such a sleeper game that people just, I don't know. People don't seem to play it that.
It has a conversion document already.
Never mind the conversion document. I want like full written in the book.
You want to pay it again? You want to pay for it again? Just for
Deadlands.
2 pages difference?
Paying for Deadlands twice. They could switch it up. Maybe they move it out of Texas and it's going to be East Ohio, Pennsylvania. What is the name of your local university or your whatever there? Have they got mascots?
There's 3 of them. There's plenty.
Pick one and tell me of the cool mascot that they have. Well, all of a sudden I feel like I'm in
no idea. No.
The Ohioan Onions.
I think what would be cool, a very old one, is the what's the name? I can't think of the name. The one of the first fantasy ones that came out. It was just a module. Help me out.
All I can think of is Evernight, but that was like a full-on.
Yeah, Evernight. Yeah, Evernight.
Yes, I feel like I won a prize.
Got it. I think, if Pinnacle is missing something, it's a traditional fantasy. Although it's not really traditional with the alien invasions and all that. But I think an expansion with Suede and not just the adventure, a bit more to it, a bit more sandboxy, maybe. Plot point campaign instead, because I thought it was just so original when I first read that one.
I would like to see an official. I know they made a Ghostbusters game back in the day, West End Games, but I'd like to see an official Savage Worlds take on Ghostbusters. Like, there's all kinds of I just got finished running a couple campaigns of it and stuff like that. But I mean, you could do it, but I'd like to see an official. Writers behind it, see what plot points they come up with, see what Savage Tales they can come up with all Ghostbusters type. So you make your own Ghostbuster and they start their own franchise or something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. I've recently been on a bit of a Solomon Kane kick, so I know there's a conversion document out there for it, but I'd like to see a new version of Solomon Kane.
Well, you're going to get your wish because it's coming out.
Awesome.
Oh, actually, no, because they lost the license. That's why everything went on sale last year. You could get it was the last chance to get all the books, so I got the bundle. So they lost it.
Gotcha. Did Modiphius pick it up with the Conan license, or?
No, I don't think anybody. Yeah, I don't think anybody picked it up. Not that I know of, anyway.
So if they're doing the hardcover book, then who do you think? What mechanics are they going to use?
Hardcover book for what, Gary?
For Solomon Kane. Wasn't that what we were talking about?
No.
Oh, never mind.
They were getting rid of their stock. After I think December 31st, excuse me, they weren't allowed to sell Solomon Kane anymore, so they just had a big sale. Now you can't buy it.
I'm confusing my suzerain with Solomon Kane.
Yeah, that's not the same thing at all.
Gotcha. Well, unfortunately, another aspect of Solomon Kane that is now being parked somewhere and not used.
Yeah, I ran it. Solomon Kane is awesome. Such a great plot point campaign, great characters.
I've been trying for the longest time to determine whether or not I'm actually related to Robert E. Howard. The chances are very low because he didn't have any kids, but I'm not good at using those Ancestry.com things, so I may never find out. And I'm probably not.
For now?
It's just something I'd like to know for my own edification. Or disappointment.
Oh, I'm sure in the next year you'll find out he was some kind of racist or something like that, and then people will try and cancel him.
I'm sure they've already tried.
Well, we have this podcast that you guys do now, and we've alluded to some of the beginnings of it, but I'd like to hear kind of how it came together, what the original idea was, and then, Karl, how you ended up in the mix, as it were.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Wildlife Podcast. Well, 5 years now. It started out with Jamie Pearson and his buddy Blaine. And after 5 episodes, they invited me over. I knew them a little bit. We gamed together. And I think 5 or 6 episodes later, Jamie didn't want to do the show anymore and just gave me the show. So I needed some new co-hosts and reached out to Gary and Harrison and Nick, and we started the show again, a reboot of the show that so it's been going 4 years since then. A bunch of different co-hosts came and went. We had Manuel Sams. We had Paris Conte, And Bruce, last year, Harrison wasn't going to do the show anymore. He wasn't interested, because when you're doing a show for this long, people's interests change and their lives change, and it's a big commitment. Even if you just sit there and talk, I mean, at some point you're not interested in a system anymore. So, people, they go sometimes, and that's all right. But and then Karl can talk about how he joined the show.
Yeah, we met each other on the was it the cruise first? It was Savage Cruise. Yeah.
It's a warm summer's night.
Yeah.
Nice ocean breeze wafting off the rails along the deck of the ship.
It was really
on the cruise. Eric walked with his beer, and Karl had some kind of Mai Tai, and the two of them bumped into each other gently. They looked each other in the eyes. This is what happened? Oh,
yeah, exactly. There was more dice involved, though. But no, I met Eric on the cruise. We both went on the Savage Cruise and ran a bunch of games, and we just got to talking and stuff. And then it was almost like 2 weeks later, I think it was, we went to Genghis Khan in Colorado right after the cruise, and we knew we could talk more there. So we did. We hung out a little bit more there at the Genghis Khan, and he asked me, he was thinking about kind of redoing the show a little bit, making a shorter format a little bit. And he'd asked me to come on to talk about convention gaming and how I set up my games and stuff like that. So we just got finished with a huge series of, I don't know how many episodes of talking about how to make a convention game and one-shots. And we even divulge into, your regular gaming session, how you can help build that and make it better and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been really fun, really great.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So as far as the format of the show, is it very much like that typically, where you guys have a topic that you'll stay on for a few episodes and then, find a new topic within kind of the Savage Worlds ethos to talk about? Or how does that work kind of historically and moving forward?
Well, at first it was with Jamie and Blaine. It was basically two guys learning Savage Worlds. So they would just go through something really simple and discuss it and mess it up and have people, write emails and tell them they did it wrong and all that. When I took over, I wanted to have fun with it, because I knew the personalities I had on the show. Gary, you just had a sample of what he can do, and Harrison. So the mandate was to inform, but also entertain, mostly entertain, and also to showcase the community. And that's what we did for about 4 years, mostly in a kind of roundtable format. But then when Harrison left, who was our tech guy, he was the guy who mixed the episodes, because he's awesome with that technology. It was going to be either Gary or myself doing it, and I didn't want to have to edit a 2-hour recording down and take all afternoon to do that. So I wanted to switch to shorter format and more focused, more informative. Because, we had done the whole round table, and some topics were really controversial. There were some feelings hurt from some people when we did these things, and from some of the co-hosts too. Also, we lost some co-hosts from that. So, you know what? We did that, and I don't regret it, but it was just time to do something different. So now, we do more focused series or topic, and always I've wanted to put the Savage Worlds angle on our topics, because there's a lot of RPG podcasts out there that just talk about RPGs in general and how to run a session, but I try to bring the Savage Worlds angle to whatever topic we have. And I think we're hitting our stride now with the new format, and I want it to be 20 minutes, and now we're up to 45 minutes. And it keeps, it's easy to just turn the mic on and talk and talk and talk. And the more co-hosts you have, the longer it takes. And then you got Gary who wants to talk about 50 Fathoms every episode, or has a side story that's not related to the topic at all. So,
Now, Gary, 50 Fathoms does have a Suede rule set now, right?
No, it actually
conversion.
Yeah, there's a conversion for it. But I don't know if you know this, Eric, but in Fantasy Grounds Unity, Aki is the guy's name that does the Savage Worlds sort of module for Fantasy Grounds Unity. He actually converted 50 Fathoms into a Suede. There is a Suede conversion, but it's only in Fantasy Grounds Unity. Mm-hmm. So fortunately, they don't. But we know how to use conversion documents. But Erica has to just fool on my party all the time. I still want a Suede version.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Absolutely. Now, is that one that Pinnacle does themselves, or is that one that is done by someone else?
That is an original. I don't know if it's Pinnacle, but it was Shane Hensley is the writer of it, and then Cheyenne Wright. He's the guy that did all the artwork on it and stuff like that. But it is touted as one of the best plot point campaigns. The story is fantastic. The characters are amazing that you can play. And yeah, I mean, just everything about it. It's a small enough world that you don't have to read a ton of stuff. The book is relatively small. There's enough little side quests and adventures that you can go on. Plus, it's pirates. Mm-hmm. Like that. It's awesome. And pirates are like, playing cowboys and Indians is cool in its own way, and pirates is cool in its. But that's the thing that I really like about it is the fantasy aspect. Like that really hits a stride for me. See, now I'm just going to start talking about 50 Fathoms. You got to know it, right? The characters are fantastic. The plot point is wicked. It's super cool. I've played it so many times now that I have to tell Shane that he messed up. There's some information in there that's not in the right spot, and I'm damn not happy about it. But I would like a second 50 Fathoms Part 2 to come out. We could, pick another story, because now I can't say any more than that, but we could write another plot campaign for that. There is some new material that just came out called Fire and Earth, and it takes place in the town of. I'm just kidding. We'll end it there. 50 Fathoms is awesome. Everybody should play it.
Not to belabor it, because I'm sure that Karl and Eric are now about to pull their hair out because I've opened that particular Pandora's box, but I have found there's kind of a lack of good pirate games out there. So hearing that there's a good Savage Worlds pirate setting is good to hear, because I definitely have players that I could hook with something like that.
Yeah, there's 3 now, so.
Yeah, but the other ones don't matter. They're I'm not saying bad, but you have 50 Fathoms is like on the top tier, and these guys are still trying to get on the ladder. Like, let's face it, that's how good 50 Fathoms is.
Absolutely. So there was this event coming up in September, Savage Worlds event, that I was really looking forward to. That, of course, being Savage Expeditions Deadwood. It's been moved kind of into 2021, and with that move, I just have to ask: Are any of you guys planning on going to Deadwood whenever the new date is announced? Is that something that's kind of on your radar for this next year?
I would like to. I mean, it seems pretty cool. I was thinking about going this year, but things happen, with COVID-19 and things happened when I work, and it was like impossible for me to take any days off. So, and of course they canceled it though. But, but yeah, next year that'd be. I would really like to think about going to there. It's pretty dang cool to play. You play Deadlands and Deadwood. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Absolutely. What about you guys?
Yeah, so the Savage Cruise was the first expedition, and so Deadwood, I don't know. We'll have to see what the financial situation is, or if I get invited, or I don't know. We'll see. But you're in the Denver area, aren't you?
So I'm actually in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
My Skype thing says Denver. That's actually Denver, North Carolina, where I'm from. But
wow. Okay. Never
But
mind.
I'm in Nashville, but I want to go to South Dakota. I want to go to a Savage Worlds convention, and like Karl said, playing Savage Worlds in Deadwood, specifically Deadlands in Deadwood, sounds awesome, and so that's definitely on my radar.
Plus the Rocky Mountain Savages, Landauer and Fox. I mean, they put together great events, so I'm sure it would be awesome.
Yeah, really great guys.
What's the name of the convention? The Savage Worlds, is that the one that you went to in Denver, where it's sort of like luminaries? Yeah, Genghis. Is that where all the luminaries were?
Yeah, Genghis Khan is probably the biggest Savage Worlds convention there is. Then, whoa, sorry, I got. I might lose power here. Then there's also Mace. Mace is pretty big for Savage Worlds, also.
Chupacabra.
And Chupacabra Con. Yeah, those are the main three probably. Con on the Cob used to be really big with Savage Worlds, but not anymore. There's still about 3 or 4 games around the clock running there, but compared to Genghis that has, just over 100 games over a weekend, that's just crazy. And great GMs too, big names if you want to game with, creators of the game or writers and stuff. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that Mace in Charlotte, North Carolina that you were talking about there?
Yeah.
Gotcha, because that's the one gaming convention that I've been to and run games at. That's actually where I met Shane, and how I got into Savage Worlds was going to that convention. But not living in Charlotte anymore, I haven't been in the past couple years. So,
right, I think the one close to you is Chattanooga. That's the closest one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Nashville does not have. For some reason, Nashville does not have a big RPG convention, which just seems dumb to me. Maybe it's now on me to put that together.
Yeah, plus we got a good buddy of ours, Uncle J. Raz from the Murder Hobo Show. He's in Nashville right now, so I'm sure he'd help you.
That's sweet, man. Yeah, you could be his new favorite.
Yeah, if you're looking for a player, I mean, we'll hook you up. Uncle Jay's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one thing. One struggle that I found with Savage Worlds, I love it, and I love all the different settings, official and unofficial, all the different things you can do with it. Karl was the Morpheus to my Neo in that particular instance of, you can do all of this with Savage Worlds as well. I was like, no, I did not know that. But my players, everyone I know is so kind of involved in 5th edition D&D. I find it hard to kind of pull people away from that that particular drug of an RPG and get them to try Savage Worlds. So how do you guys recommend going about bringing people who've not ever played Savage Worlds into the Savage Worlds?
Gary's pretty big and strong, so they don't have a choice.
Yeah, we don't want them. You stay there and play your stupid D&D. We'll be over here with that cool kids table, drinking beers, playing Savage Worlds. Yeah.
No, I think Gary's got a point. Going to conventions, usually, I'm not saying that other games are boring the way people play, but if you've ever watched a group of Savage Worlds played a game, everybody is cheering and loud and in your face because you got the acing of the dice, you got the jokers, you got the cards and everything. And I think probably just run your game for other people in front of them and watch them, because D&D's usually look at your character sheet and finding the right power that you want to use and stuff. And
right.
Another thing too is go with pop culture. Like well, we talked about it on the show, and what Karl does, he'll take a famous movie that everybody knows and lets you play that with a twist, and it's easy to sell that idea to people, because if you tell them, hey, let's play Necessary Evil, I mean, it's an awesome game, but it doesn't ring a bell to anybody. They don't know what it is. Or Solomon Kane, nobody knows who Solomon Kane is unless you're a diehard Howard fan, right? But tell them we're going to play, I don't know, Terminator versus Aliens, and they'll be like, what? That's a game? Then they'll want to play it, right? So
absolutely.
What was the game that you did with the guy from what's his face? We all played him. It was like everybody played the same character. We just played different.
League of Extraordinary Nicolas Cage versus zombies. So.
Jesus.
We all played a Nicolas Cage character from one of his movies, which was fantastic.
Amazing.
I was the pickup truck, on top of the pickup truck, and as we were riding, I was on it like full auto, just gunning stuff down. They hit the brakes. I did a full-on acrobatic maneuver to fly off the top of it, and I landed it, which was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And then, it's good stuff, man. League of Extraordinary Nicolas Cages, or was that what it was? It was awesome. Yeah. It was good. Somebody played Batman. I can't remember. I think I played
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy, yeah.
Kick-ass.
Yeah, Kick-ass. It was awesome. That's the thing, like trying to get people to come over and play Savage Worlds. Everybody is just so hooked. It's like they have blinders on and they just want to play D&D because it's the first thing that they come across. It's sort of the thing they know. But they get into these comfort zones and stuff like that. And, I can't really sort of shit talk anybody because I did the same thing for 40 years. I played basically every edition of D&D from basic through expert, first edition, second edition. I had kids between third and fourth, so I didn't play those, but I came back when fifth was around and I played that for a couple of years. And then one day I was like, there's got to be other good systems out here to play. I was asking one of the guys at Nerd Haven. He's like, try Savage Worlds, man. It's a universal system, so you only have to sort of learn one set of rules. You can play all of these different genres. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. I started reading it, and it was like somebody lifted the friggin' blinders off of me and shined the holy light. It was like somebody opened the lid of the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I'm like, why didn't nobody ever show me this before? Because it's like three wounds. That's way better than counting hit points. Throw cards down for initiative. That's way better than what did you roll? Add your dexterity. Is that with or without your dexterity? And then you got to write them down, and then you got to shuffle them or put the little clips on top. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Savage Worlds is so awesome. You take Jokers, like Eric was talking about. Those things land on the table, and everybody's like, yeah, bennies, right? Re-rolls.
Mm-hmm.
So many good things about it, and people, they're just missing out because D&D is the first thing they get. They don't look to play other things.
Mm-hmm. I know. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it took a long time for, for Victor Diaz, my co-host for one of the other podcasts that I was doing. It took a long time for him to convert me from Savage Worlds to ICRPG, like probably a solid 6 months before I actually bought the book. He just kept saying, it's really good. It's really good. He'd be like, ICRPG fixes it this way. And so, yeah, that's how I started playing that. Now I have three between Eric, ICRPG, and Savage Worlds. I have 3 loves. Karl will get there. He's working his way up the rung.
Cool, man. Thank you. No, but I got a bunch of people at work into Savage Worlds. We actually, a guy at work actually ran a 5th edition for us for a little bit. They were brand new to role playing in general. This group at work, and they wanted to play something because Stranger Things had came out, and they're like, oh yeah, what's this D&D thing? Let's get into that. And this other guy, Will, he was like, yeah, I'll run some D&D for you guys, and he ran a good game. He ran a fun game, but through work stuff and things happen where he couldn't run it anymore. So they know that I run Savage Worlds, and they're like, well, what's that game like? I'm like, okay, so you play D&D, let's play some Savage Worlds, and let's make some characters up, and let's see what we can do. And I started with ETU with these guys, with this group, and they loved it. They loved, like what Eric said, they loved the cards, they loved the bennies. It was much more exciting than D&D. Like, nobody was just sitting there looking at their paper. They were just like, oh my God, what are we going to do now? And when the cards and bennies are flying, it just clicked for them. And now I'm taking a little break I'm still gaming with these people online, and I have to take a little break because I'm just super swamped with work and everything. And one of the girls from the game, I asked her if she can take over. She goes, well, I thought about this, but I'm going to stick with Savage Worlds. I like Savage Worlds. I played that other game, but let's go with Savage Worlds. So she's going to be a Savage Worlds GM, and she's going to take out. So just try invite people over and do a one shot or do something, start a new campaign with these people and just show them, like, go through the motions of everything in the game that Savage Worlds has to offer, like bennies and cards and conviction tokens, and there's all kinds of cool stuff in that game,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do that series about running great one shot, because usually that's all you need to convince people to fall in love with Savage Worlds. Really, it's just one game, but you only get one shot, right?
Yep.
I know if someone runs a new game system and messes it up, I'm probably never going to pick up that game again. So we want to make sure that people run great first games, and so hopefully people listening to the show, they pick up on that and run a great game like Karl's friend there, and he did that, and now he's got a whole group converted.
Yeah, and I wish that had been around when I was first trying to get people into Deadlands. Now, this was Deadlands Classic. This was not Savage Worlds. But I created probably one of the shittiest games in existence that I've referred to as the Deadlands incident for ever since. And I've told this story several times. Karl, I believe I told you this story as well. But basically what happened was there was a player who brought a date to the game, and she was not super interested in what was going on and started throwing my poker chips around the room. Not like maliciously throwing them, but like throwing them up in the air and they landed under the couch. And then there was a player who was wanted and a player who was a bounty hunter, and they had zero interest in my story about John Wesley Hardin, so they decided they were going to... the bounty hunter was trying to bring in the wanted man, and that was a whole ordeal.
Man.
It happens to the best of us, We've all done it, ran a really crappy game that makes you want to quit the hobby, basically. So,
yeah,
absolutely. And one thing that I found I found this to be true almost universally across any genre outside of fantasy with the groups that I've been in. If you suggest a different genre, initially everyone gets super excited because it's something different, it's something novel. But then once you get through character creation and you actually get to that first session, everyone's already kind of burnt out on this new novel genre. And at that point, it kind of dies at the one shot if you're lucky. If you're not lucky, it dies after the first turn. But then everyone just kind of goes back to medieval fantasy at that point. And I'm trying to find my way out of that cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the trick to doing that is to play a setting wherein you don't have to, or you don't have to expect your players to know anything. And I think that's what makes Eric's Wise Guys so fantastic, because everybody that's alive today can relate to 1985. People our age, maybe not the youngsters, but everybody's seen mafia movies and the mobsters and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, like, you don't have to teach people the backstory or any of that kind of stuff, which is why I think he's got a unique setting in that sense, which is why you should place things like that. Or even why Deadlands is so good. What do you have to teach people about Westerns? Everybody's seen a good Western. You're just doing that, right? So I think if you can steer away from teaching people the backstory and stuff like that and get them going in that way, you're better off. And also too, man, again, bringing people over, I would just rather go find people that are already interested in playing Savage Worlds rather than try and bring people over and convince them to come and play this game.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now,
Seems like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I just said it just seems like too much work.
Yeah. And the only thing, like, I've got 2 gaming groups that I've already been gaming with for a while. One of them is actually pretty keen on trying new settings. So I think at a certain point I'll be able to hook them with Savage Worlds. I just need the opportunity. Because I got them to play Dark Sun with me. It was a 5e conversion for Dark Sun. But I got them to step into that crazy world that I love so much. So I think getting them at least to play a few sessions of Deadlands once the Kickstarter stuff arrives shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah.
Now, Eric, we've talked about it a couple times already, but this Wise Guy setting, as a huge fan of gangster movies, I am extremely intrigued by this. So, for a little bit, could you kind of hold forth on what Wise Guys is and why people should play it?
Second best setting ever.
After 50 Fathoms, right? Now, if I mixed both of them together, mobsters on the ship. So, Wise Guys is basically, well, first the book is a setting, but it's also kind of a companion, rules for modern Savage Worlds. There's a big modern bestiary in there, but the setting itself, it was me asking myself the question, what if the mob had never left Vegas? Because by the mid 80s, it was the commission trials back in New York City from led by Giuliani, and he put over 100 mobsters behind bars. Some of them, the 5 big godfathers behind bars, and basically everybody left Vegas, and now it was taken over by big corporations, and they turn it into Disneyland for adults. But what if they never left, and instead the little soldiers, mafia soldiers in Vegas, decided to self-proclaim themselves new bosses and hire a bunch of associates. So it's not just playing, Italian American guys. It can be a showgirl who's also a stage magician, or you get someone that can break vaults. You get pickpockets, Elvis impersonator that can pickpockets while people take pictures with them on the street. So you get all these crooks working together to, do crazy heist scenes like Ocean's 11. That was big inspiration. Think that, but with Joe Pesci, and that's basically Wise Guys.
Gotcha. Yeah,
but yet it's so much more.
Yeah, Wise Guys is.
Eric has we play tested a lot of Wise Guys while he was doing it, and I tell you, man, I've never not played a game of Wise Guys that wasn't absolutely a frickin' hoot. Like the magician he's talking about is Linda, and I played her, and she's like a drug addict and shit. So my whole thing that I did the entire time was just try and find drugs. I was always trying to score, and we were being chased down the street one time through the town on this. I don't know. I don't think it was a chase at the actual time, but it was a chase scene. And she's in the back, just all high, getting chased. And I remember that I threw up in a bag and I threw it on their window as part of the chase scene because I wanted to cover the window so they couldn't see us. And then I got kicked out of the car by one of the other players. And I ended up running through like a Shoppers Drug Mart, and they picked me up on the other side. It was spectacular. There's so much cool stuff. If you want to play a really good one-shot of sort of Wise Guys that's not Wise Guys, Eric also wrote Forget About It, which is awesome. And I love blowing smoke up his ass because that was probably one of the first ones that I played that was sort of mafia sort of kind of a deal, but it's a simple premise. You're just a crew of guys that has taken this accountant that's been cooking the books for a different group of mafiosos for a different family. You're taking him out to the desert and you're just going to bury him. But it's just like he's in the trunk of your Cadillac. The guy that owns the Cadillac, it's his prized possession. Everybody has a thing where they've got issues with somebody that's in the party, and you're in this Cadillac just driving down the road. That's how it starts. You've already got the guy, and things happen. Your tire blows, so now you're on the side of the road, right? You just make it up, and then a cop shows up. Well, this guy's still alive in the trunk. He could be banging, and you got to deal with the cop. Ours ended, forget about it, ended with us in a gas station having a shootout with each other because one of the players who I asked to get me Rolaids from the gas station, he pissed on them in the bathroom and then fed me pissed on Rolaids. And then I figured it out by the end, and we had a shootout after we buried the body. And it was a glorious game, man. It's just...
Yeah, forget about it. It's amazing. I've ran that at cons a bunch of times. And every time you run it, it's different because the way Eric wrote it is there's things that could happen basically, and not every game is going to be the same. So maybe the tire blew on that one. Okay, sure, let's use that. But maybe a cop pulls you over because maybe your tail light's out or something like that. Just all kinds of different things can happen. It's great. I guess it was pre-Wise Guys, right? Is that where you got there?
Yeah, that's how I got started, and then people were like, when are we going to get a full setting for that? And I was like, man, I don't know. I need to find an angle for it. And then did a bunch of research, and one of your players, Arlene, said, how come there's no female characters? And my first reaction was like, well, you have to be Italian and a male to be in the mafia. So what am I supposed to do? And that's when I started researching all kinds of badass female characters. And I found, Quentin Tarantino movies. He's got plenty of badass female characters. And that's where the roller derby girl idea came from, and all the, kind of ninja type of Kill Bill characters that go in there. So you can play, it's Black Elvis, one of the pre-gen, and it was one of the most fun characters ever that people love to play, and they bring it together. And
I played him.
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah.
Winston. Probably.
Little Deb is the roller chick, the roller skate girl. Can you imagine getting your face kicked in from somebody that's wearing roller skates? Like, she keeps the damage, man. It's crazy. It's wicked.
Yeah.
Now, what I would do with a setting like that, I'd probably set it either in the 1950s or the 1990s in Nashville. And it would be during the various booms in country music, and have the players basically be like the fixer team for a record label.
There you go.
That's great.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Like I said, it's a toolkit, so there's a bunch of rules on how to. There's even like a little guide to racketeering. I mean, I did my research. How do you hijack a truck? How do you cheat at slot machines, and all that stuff is in there.
He's got heist rules. That was pretty cool.
Contact rules, so you get to know some people, and the better you treat them, eventually they're so friendly with you that you get a special perk from them, almost like a magic item would give you. So, and some guys will make bodies disappear. Some can, remove a wound that's more than an hour old. Someone can reconstruct your whole face and change your identity, or all kinds of guys that you meet like that. There's a deck of cards, 52 of them, and you can just put them in play there and have them meet the players. And if they screw up, then they're gonna backstab them, like give them over to another faction or turn them over to the cops. So you have to treat them well.
Yeah, you can. That adds a whole other cool dynamic to the game as well, because you can also be dealt these random characters, which is pretty cool. So let's say you get Getaway Driver, and it's like an adventure card is for Savage Worlds, but all of a sudden you're in a predicament. You're like, I'm going to call my contact. I need a getaway card because you're pinned down somewhere, and he'll come zipping out of nowhere and rescue your ass, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's good. It's awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Still not as good as 50 Fathoms, but I mean, it's good.
Now you could combine the two and to make a Rush reference here, have the Gangster Boat trilogy.
Yeah. Well, pirates are gangsters, really.
Yeah.
Just gangsters at sea.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know how well that plays in this room. I am a huge Rush fan, as evidenced by my T-shirt, but I often find I am the lone huge Rush fan in any given room, unless it's something Rush related. Especially being an American in my early 20s.
Yeah, that's kind of weird because usually Canadian bands don't really take off down in the States.
Mm-hmm.
But not Rush. Rush knocked it out of the park, man. Geddy Lee was pretty kick-ass.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good music.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, we are pretty much at our time for the evening. What I like to do at this point is just kind of turn it over to you guys for anything you've got coming up. Obviously, the podcast. You can promote that. Anything you've got coming out soon, anything like that. Go ahead. It is your time for promotion.
Well, the Wild Eye podcast has decided, and it hasn't been announced yet. We're gonna announce it on our next show, but people on your show get to hear it first after our patrons, of course. We're going on Twitch also, a live show. It's going to be called Wild Eye Harder, and we're going to do some show and tell and probably have some guests, some people. It's going to be more loose and an hour, no editing, no nothing. Just turn that thing on and do, become fools.
Not Wild Die Hard with a Vengeance?
That's probably going to be the actual play at some point in the stream.
All right.
Karl and Eric will show you all the cool crafting that they do, and then I'll just be cutting out my little plastic miniatures here. My little paper ones that I made. I actually have some kicking around here, but I must have cleaned my desk up, so all I have is my thing I was picking my teeth with to show people. I have some Rolaids.
Were they missed on?
I don't know. They were in my shorts, maybe. I don't know. I do more than just the Wild Eye podcast. I do the Murder Hobo Show with me and my buddy Uncle Jay, which is a general RPGs, because I have more than just one love. I like talking about role-playing games in general. I more or less just like talking is pretty much what it boils down to. You know, not a lot of people don't listen to it, but it's just me talking to Uncle Jay. We hang out, we talk about poo and stuff because we have IBS and we're old. What else I got going on? I have the Murder Hobo Show on YouTube, which is actually doing pretty good. I got over 1,700 subscribers on my sweet YouTube channel. Thanks to every one of them. But if you're interested in looking at some of the stuff that I do, you can check it out on YouTube at the Murder Hobo Show. I make cool 3D maps for Tabletop Simulator that I use to play my role-playing games on. It is my virtual tabletop of choice. And that's what I do. So the Murder Hobo Show and my YouTube channel. And then I do stream on Twitch too sometimes. But, I mean, that's really nothing to point to anybody at. That's... What about you, Karl? What do you got going on?
Oh, man, I got so much stuff. Yeah, besides 50 Fathoms. There's so much stuff going on. Okay, so I do graphic arts and I do layouts and stuff like that for a bunch of Savage Worlds licensees and stuff like that. So one Kickstarter has been out there for a good 2-3 years now, I think, and we finally got everything, finally got all the text and everything's done with it. It's Monster Hunters Club. The backers have the PDF, the digital version of it right now, and they're going to take a look at it and see what they think. And eventually, it's going to be on sale for everybody. But it's kind of a Goonies meets Stranger Things Savage Worlds setting. So that should be coming out to the public pretty soon, hopefully. What else I got going on? There's another Kickstarter that's probably going to come out pretty soon. I'm not going to say a date yet, but it's Dead End. They've been talking about it for years, and it's the Atomic Ninja Crew. And Dead End is going to be a Savage Worlds survival zombie game. and I'm doing the layout for that right now. So they're actually going to be, hopefully when they do the Kickstarter, the PDF will be almost ready. So so that's going to be like an instant
money.
What's that?
I said, take my money.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, and of course, I'm part of Doghouse Rules, and we've got all kinds of Western Savage World stuff, and of course, Trailer Park Shark Attack is over there, so you can get that on drive-through. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
tons of stuff.
Yeah, the settings I created are not they're not usable in the public sphere. So,
Gartar.
that's right. It's like the Fight Club. You know, the first rule of Gartar is not to talk about Gartar.
All right, well, that is going to do it for tonight's show. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. This was a blast. I love talking about Savage Worlds, and it's always great just to hear about some cool stuff going on in gaming and step outside of the kind of the box of 5th edition for a little bit.
Yeah.
Well,
It is.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Gotcha.
It's been fun.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, obviously this Saturday on Danishes and Dragons, we are actually stepping back into the 5th edition box because I am creating my character for a game that I will be playing in, which is a martial arts take on 5e. Very heavily homebrewed, so there's going to be a lot of stuff to go over with that. Super excited to bring that kind of new content onto Danishes and Dragons, and we'll, of course, be having breakfast together. And on next Monday, I'm super excited about this episode, too. Nathan Paletta is coming on, and we're going to talk about some worldwide wrestling. So, yes, I am once again on my wrestling bullshit. So that's going to be a ton of fun. Hope you guys tune in for it. But obviously, until next time, whether your dice exploded or you got a snake eyes, I am so glad that you decided to roll your bones with me, Ryan Howard, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.